저기요, 공 주세요. 아저씨 드라큘라예요? 우와! 우와!
Week 2 of the month of Marvel concludes with an entry that I'm not that excited for. Don't get me wrong, Doctor Strange is a good movie with a lot going for it, but its flaws irk me more than most of these movies do, and outside of its visuals, it's pretty much the definition of a standard superhero origin. Since I don't have the Eye of Agamotto, because toys are way too expensive, let's not waste any time and get to the plot synopsis. Dr. Stephen Strange is the world's second greatest neurosurgeon, after only Ben Carson, I guess, though he clearly only does it because he gets fame, glory, and money for his work. While texting and driving, Strange crashes his car in what was the most disturbing superhero movie car crash scene until Shazam came out. He wakes up to find that his hands are permanently damaged. While he spends every penny he has to help him recover somewhat, he realizes he will never be able to perform surgery again. He tracks down a few leads, talks to a few people, and chases some fables of a mystic, hidden order of supernaturally skilled doctors long forgotten by the world in the far-off, remote, isolated land of, Kathmandu, a city of 1 million people and the capital city of Nepal. For those of you not as cultured as I, you may know it as the city where a good chunk of Uncharted 2 takes place. Anyway, he learns that the people at the mysterious Kamar Taj aren't just medical practitioners, but wizards, and they agree to train him in the mystic arts so that he may magically heal his hands. Not long before Strange arrived, however, a wizard student named Caecilius absconded with secrets of dark magic. As Strange's photographic memory and obsession with getting things exactly right help him excel in his studies, he gets wrapped up in the battle between his fellow wizards and Kamar Taj's deserters that holds the fate of reality at stake. Doctor Strange himself is excellently realized. Yes, he is very similar to Tony Stark. He's the arrogant, rich genius who gets humbled by a physical disability before he decides to get superpowers. Those are not small similarities, but Benedict Cumberbatch and Robert Downey Jr. play the characters very differently. The simplest way I can put it is this: Tony knows he's a jerk. Stephen doesn't. Their character arcs are also nothing alike. In Iron Man 1, Tony learns that he has to be responsible with what his company chooses to do with his wealth and power. Stephen learns to not be closed-minded, to accept that he isn't the best at everything and should be okay with asking for help, and that while helping people is great, he should do things for the right reasons. Most of all, he learns to accept failure. The way he defeats the final boss in this movie is one of the most out-of-the-box ways you'll ever see a hero defeat a villain. Strange traps a giant interdimensional monster named Dormammu in a time loop wherein Dormammu murders Strange over and over and over again until he agrees to Strange's demands in order to free himself from the repeating moment. So yes, the plot and protagonist are similar in many ways to Iron Man. There are still some pretty important differences, is all I'm saying. Caecilius, played by Mads Mikkelsen, is our villain, who has no personality but a pretty understandable motivation. He fears death, so he wants to use dark magic to become immortal, failing to realize that death is a natural part of life and that it's kind of necessary for humanity. When he finds out the leader of Kamar Taj, the Ancient One, is secretly using the forbidden dark magic to make herself immortal, he's offended at the hypocrisy and deserts the school. The problem is he only ever discusses this motivation in 2 or 3 scenes, making him barely more memorable than, say, Malekith. It's a waste of Mikkelsen's skill. Another actor who is above this movie is Chiwetel Ejiofor as Baron Mordo. Ejiofor is all well and good as a wizard with convictions rivaling Rorschach's in their rigidity, but this guy deserves a lot better material than delivering exposition for most of his dialogue. Tilda Swinton plays the Ancient One, one of many controversial casting decisions in the MCU. See, the Ancient One in the comics is an old Asian man. However, Marvel wanted to avoid the stereotype of the wise old Asian grandmaster sitting in a temple teaching a school of mystical martial artists. And okay, that's a stereotype worth avoiding, but was the best solution really to just whitewash the role? It feels like they gender flipped the role to offset some of the backlash, since they can say, hey, at least we're casting progressively in one respect. Ultimately, Tilda Swinton does a good job like she always does, so it doesn't ruin the movie or anything, but really, Marvel, cut that out. Benedict Wong plays Wong, the librarian at the school. While he sadly doesn't get to participate in any action scenes until Avengers Infinity War, his character here is a major upgrade from his original comic incarnation, which was essentially a servant to Strange. Wong is funny, has a cool voice, and even died protecting the Hong Kong Sanctum Sanctorum. The last character character I want to discuss is Rachel McAdams as Dr. Christine Palmer, an ex of Strange's who tries to keep his ego in check until he lashes out at her verbally, accusing her of helping people to make herself feel better. Of course, later in the movie, Strange really does need her to not die. It's nice to see an ex-couple in a movie that doesn't seem to have a will they get back together thing going on, and I hope they maintain that for the sequels. Ant-Man and his ex-wife are another good example. However, I have to say that Rachel McAdams has got to be the most typecasted actor in a long time. In 4 movies, those being Doctor Strange, The Time Traveler's Wife, Midnight in Paris, and About Time, she plays a woman who is or was romantically involved with a time-traveling man, yet she never gets to time travel herself in any of these movies? What the heck is wrong with you, Hollywood? Stop teasing this poor woman and put her on a time machine already.
If we were to get in a time machine and jump 10 years into the future, it would be the 20-year anniversary of Mean Girls. Could we expect you in 10 years to maybe be signed on for a reunion?
Oh, that would be fun. I mean, I loved that movie so much, and she was such a fun character to play. God, Regina George in 20 years.
The movie has a few things going for it in a big way. One is theming. I hold no delusions about the MCU. They're blockbuster action movies that are usually heavy on comedy and light on themes. I'm not trying to say Doctor Strange is rich to be mined for hidden meaning like a Kubrick film or something. But I am saying that when compared to the rest of the MCU, I think its themes of mortality and faith are presented more strongly than most. My favorite little moment of symbolism comes when Stevens shaves his beard. See, Stevens stopped shaving once he lost his ability to hold a razor in his hands. After recovering enough to hold one again, he still doesn't do it. He does shave once he starts to learn magic, however, but he doesn't go back to his perfectly smooth face, he leaves a goatee. This shows that Strange has his life together again, but is permanently changed by his experiences. They came up with not just a story reason, but a thematic reason for something as innocuous as the character's facial hairstyle. That's good stuff. Obviously though, like Ant-Man, this movie's visuals are its strongest aspect. The visual effects used to realize the gravity shifting, kaleidoscopic matter folding, the Inception-like city bending in the mirror dimension, the dark dimension, the reversed destruction of Hong Kong, the paused Hong Kong, and the various spells and magic items used throughout the movie are stunning. It's an achievement in digital VFX that's so good that I think it's honestly raised the bar for Marvel visuals. And not just the flashy action ones either. I can't say for sure if we would have gotten scenes that looked just like the spirit world of Wakanda, or the supreme intelligence of the Kree homeworld, or the Ride of the Valkyries, or even the effect used to realize Ghost's superpowers in Ant-Man and the Wasp, if Doctor Strange didn't make everyone fall in love with its weird for the sake of weird inventive set pieces. These visuals are also used to add a ton of variables to action scenes. Imagine if the portal combat scene from Thor 2 was happening in a time warp on the folded city in Inception. There's like 4 scenes in Doctor Strange just like that. So Doctor Strange has strong visuals, good action, a good protagonist, and above average theming for the series. Some important characters are just so-so, but what's really holding it back from being one of my favorites in the franchise? As much as it hurts to say it, the comedy. I usually defend the comedy in the Marvel movies, but it does not work for me here more often than it does. Mostly I just don't think a lot of the jokes are funny, but I have to discuss Marvel undercutting dramatic moments with their jokes. Now there's a way to pull this off, that being in any way where the joke doesn't ruin whatever emotional impact the dramatic moment had. For instance, in Avengers Infinity War, a very serious scene of Gamora making Peter swear on his mother's grave to kill Gamora if Thanos catches her is followed by a scene of Drax being an idiot for comedic effect. I don't think the joke is funny, but it doesn't ruin the moment that came before it in any way. In Doctor Strange though, I feel like it too often does. Here's 2 examples. When Doctor Strange comes to the crossroads and has to choose between becoming a neurosurgeon again or becoming a full-time superhero, he chooses to be a superhero. To show this, he pops his collar, completing the look of his superhero costume and becoming this movie's final version of Doctor Strange. A big musical sting tells us how important and cool this is, and then his magic cloak starts touching his face, prompting him to tell it to stop as the music stops. This is intended to be funny because a cool hero shot ends up being some kind of embarrassing or at least annoying moment. The next example is Doctor Strange's one-liner after defeating Caecilius. He says his cool line, which isn't actually all that cool, but that's not important right now, and then we cut to Wong laughing at it. This does complete the running gag of Wong not laughing, which works, but it also is meant to be funny because we're not used to seeing movie characters actually react to one-liners. So those are the mechanics of why both jokes are supposed to work, but here's why I don't like them. When you have a dramatic, cool, or important moment, and then you reveal it was just set up for a punchline, the message that it sends to me is that you were not confident the moment would emotionally resonate with people in the way it should. So you apologized to them by insisting you didn't mean it and that you knew it was dumb all along and that it was only a joke about how dumb it was. Why can't a moment just be genuinely cool? Why does the movie have to tell me I'm taking the movie too seriously when I'm actually invested and excited about it? One minor issue I have is the music. Michael Giacchino is very good at what he does, but why does he have to compose the score for every movie now? His work isn't bad, I'm just tired of it. Doctor Strange, like Ant-Man, is worth a watch for people who generally like superhero movies, and I'd also recommend it for fans of weird CGI effects. Watch it on the biggest screen you can for the full effect.
First, there was the hero who wore the suit of iron. then a scientist with anger issues. The god of thunder himself. And of course, the first Avenger. Now it's time for a new hero to rise. Behold the majesty of Doctor Strange. Do something.
So spoke the wizard in his mountain home. The vision of his wisdom means we'll never be alone. And I will dream of my magic night and the million silver stars that guide me with their light.
The first of the two credits scenes is a clip from Thor Ragnarok. Credit scenes that are just clips from future movies are fine when you see them in theaters, but on rewatch, they tend to be my least favorite kind of credit scene. I guess I can't complain, since as long as we're getting two, we still get some unique footage at the end of these movies. And why is this the only time Doctor Strange wears his sweet yellow dishwashing gloves? The second credit scene is a teaser for Doctor Strange 2, and shows Baron Mordo finishing his metamorphosis into a villain. How evil do you have to be to punch a guy directly in his ability to walk?